took 6 years of World War to bring the Holocaust to an end. By 1948, new conflicts have emerged. In Germany, the Soviets are blockading Berlin. In India, the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi has added to tensions between India and Pakistan, while London gets ready to stage the first Olympic Games for 12 years. And in the Middle East, a Jewish nation is struggling to be born. May 14th. It is just past midnight. David Ben-Gurion is creating history. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, when he reads these words aloud, he will change world politics forever. In this simple text lies a dream of the Jewish people that has endured 2,000 years of exile. It is the declaration of the State of Israel. Yet the nation may not survive the day. All around him, powerful forces are working to obstruct or destroy his fledgling nation. In neighboring Jordan, King Abdullah heads an alliance of 5 Arab nations committed to strangling Israel at birth. He is defying the United Nations, who have their own plan for the Middle East. Civil war rages across the country, and the British Empire, which has played regional peacekeeper for 30 years, is leaving. His only hope lies in Washington. With the backing of President Truman, Israel might have a chance to survive. But right now, he doesn't know if America will even recognize the new state. He is gambling with the future of his people and the whole Middle East. Just 6 months earlier, the United Nations tried to find a political solution to this age-old dilemma by partitioning Palestine.
The Jewish state will include the ports of Haifa and Tel Aviv and the whole of the Negev Valley. The Arab will occupy the fertile eastern part. Jerusalem will come under United Nations trusteeship.
Jews were ecstatic. After the nightmare of the Holocaust, they would have a land to call their own, but at the expense of the Palestinians. Although they made up 65% of the population, they would get just 40% of the land. They rejected partition and took up arms. Sectarian violence spilled over into civil war. Trying to keep the two sides apart is the British Army. The British have held a mandate to rule Palestine since the First World War, but it ends at midnight tonight, May 14th. The sun rises and the countdown has begun. Saeed Ali Abi Lakhud is 14 years old. Today he is scouting a sniping position for his elder brother in the bombed-out ruins of Jaffa. According to the UN partition, Jaffa was meant to be a Palestinian town. Most of it has already surrendered to Jewish forces. Yet there are still pockets of resistance. Saeed's 19-year-old brother, Hassan, was a student before the fighting. Like most Palestinians, he has no military training, and his rifle is from the First World War. The British Army is meant to keep the opposing sides apart, yet Israelis are sniping and shelling over their heads to force the last few Palestinians out. Saeed believes he has spotted where the snipers are holed up. It will make little difference. When the last British soldiers leave, they will have to fend for themselves. As long ago as March, the American government recognized that UN partition was doomed to failure. Something had to be done.
to terminate the mandate on May 15, 1948, if carried out by the United Kingdom, would result in chaos. The United Nations cannot permit such a result.
American Secretary to the UN, Warren Austin, proposes that partition be temporarily abandoned. Instead, with the end of the British mandate, direct control of the country would pass to the UN. It promised a halt to the fighting, but Jewish independence would have to wait. May the 12th, in Tel Aviv. With just 2 days to go before the end of the mandate, Ben-Gurion calls his cabinet to a crisis meeting. Before them is a single burning question. Will they take the ceasefire and put off independence, or forge ahead and risk losing everything in the war? For Ben-Gurion, independence is a once-only opportunity to be seized at all costs. But first he has to persuade his cabinet. Many are afraid to go it alone, and with good reason. Golda Meir has 2 children fighting at the front. As Ben-Gurion's envoy in Jordan, she has just met with King Abdullah to request his neutrality. Abdullah has proposed his own solution. Palestine would remain whole, with himself as sole ruler. The Jews would be allowed a tiny autonomous ghetto around Tel Aviv. But this would not be a state, and he would be king of the Jews. She told him no.
הוא רוצה להתקיף עם כל הערבים מסביב. נכון הבטיח, נכון אמר, נכון אוהב. אין מה לעשות.
There is worse news to come. The ceasefire is a US initiative. If they reject it, they could jeopardize America's recognition of Israel. And without that, they may not survive. Foreign Minister Moshe Sharett has just returned from Washington. His mission? To get Truman on their side. The president is known to have some sympathy with the Jewish cause. But denied access to Truman, Sharett has met instead with Head of State Department, Senator George Marshall.
וזה נאמר לי מפורשות על ידי ג'נרל מרשל, שבמידה ואנחנו נכריז חד צדדית על הקמת המדינה, מעבר לזה, הם אולי אפילו לא יתמכו כספית. זאת אומרת שגם את המימון האמריקאי אנחנו נפסיד.
For Ben-Gurion, the future suddenly looks very uncertain. Yet at this very moment in Washington, an unlikely ally has just got out of bed. Clark Clifford is Truman's domestic policy advisor. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, he will attempt to persuade the president to commit himself to recognizing Israel. Senator George Marshall will also be in the meeting, and Marshall thinks Clifford is meddling in affairs that don't concern him. A 41-year-old lawyer, Clifford's reputation is built on the sharpness of his argument, finely tuned before he steps into court. Today, he will have to be very sharp indeed.
Sir, the draft public speech, which I worked on last week, advocating the recognition of the Jewish state, is, I believe...
Clifford is not employed in foreign policy, but he has a compelling reason to fight for the Jewish cause. He wants to keep his job.
The Jews have been promised a homeland. Senator, the Jewish state has been accepted in principle since the Balfour Declaration. Sir, this is a moral issue, not just... Lecture, don't lecture, Marshall.
1948 is a presidential election year, and Truman risks losing. New York alone has 100,000 potential Jewish voters.
Yes, the numbers don't make sense. 30 million Arabs, 600,000 Jews...
Suddenly, Truman's foreign policy decisions could have a huge impact on the survival of his administration. The stakes are high for everyone.
And if the Jews go it alone, as I believe they will, we have the opportunity to support a country that supports the democratic system in the Middle East. The Jewish state can be that, if we help them. And how is it going to look? If they turn to us for help, and we abandon, if we turn our backs on a potential ally, a fellow democracy. And there's also the Soviets to consider. If they support the Jewish state, and it survives, they will have gained a foothold in the region.
While the politicians argue, the war intensifies. Jewish forces are increasing their stranglehold on Jaffa, helped by the withdrawal of the British. Yet as one occupying army departs, another waits in the wings. Abdullah's legions are massing at the border. Armies from Jordan, Syria, Egypt, Iraq, and Lebanon. 30,000 men with tanks, artillery, and air support. 2 days to go, and counting. In Tel Aviv, the meeting trails on into the evening. Ben-Gurion hopes that Truman may yet come round. But if he doesn't, what then? Without legal recognition, they will be unable to buy new weapons and ammunition. Left on their own, how long can they survive? Ben-Gurion turns to 30-year-old Chief of Operations, Yigal Yadin. The Jewish forces are short of heavy weapons, and tomorrow, if the Arabs invade as promised, they face armored columns and artillery. In most places, they are outnumbered by irregular forces, and the kibbutz are being picked off one by one. They are running out of ammunition, and their lines of communication are seriously overstretched.
כמו שזה נראה עכשיו, השאנסים שקולים.
Golda Meir hasn't heard from her son in days. Now she fears for the very survival of her people.
When I heard Yadin's words, I felt a chill run down my spine. For the first time, I was genuinely afraid and wondered if we were making a huge mistake.
But they have to make a decision. For Ben-Gurion, it is a question of destiny. History will never forgive them, he believes, if they fail to take this chance. Yet if they gamble and lose, who will be left to forgive them? It's time to vote.
מי בעד שביתת נשק עם הערבים ל3 חודשים?
The destiny of the Jewish people and the whole Middle East is literally in their hands. Despite her fears, Golda Meir remains true to the dream.
מי נגד?
She votes against the ceasefire, as does Shiret and Yadin. With Ben-Gurion's own vote, the decision is to reject the American ceasefire by just 6 votes to 4.
עם ההצבעה הזאת אנחנו מכריזים על הקמת מדינת ישראל.
Yet they still depend on Truman's recognition. And in Washington, Clifford has failed. Marshall has threatened to resign, and it appears to have swayed Truman in his favor. That was 2 days ago. Today will be Israel's Independence Day, and as far as they know, they are still on their own. Ben-Gurion finishes the declaration document. The early drafts adhered to the UN partition plan. But the Palestinians have never accepted partition, and now he takes the decision to remove all references to UN borders. He doesn't want his new nation to be limited in its ambitions. For Ben-Gurion, Israel is the Holy Land. All of it. Just 60 kilometers east in Jerusalem, fighting intensifies for control of the city. It is the spiritual capital for both Jews and Arabs. Under the UN plan, it is meant to be neutral, but both sides are trying to grab it while they can. and the Palestinians are gaining the upper hand. There is worse news.
דוד, הגיע מברק מגוש עציון.
תודה.
A telegram arrives from a collection of kibbutzim south of Jerusalem, called Gush Etzion. 2 days ago, 240 settlers were massacred. The commander of the bloc has just surrendered to avoid a repeat. The road to Jerusalem is now open to the Arab Legion army. Ben-Gurion's other big enemy today is time. In 7 hours, America will awake. The UN will sit down to debate a new resolution, appointing a mediator in the dispute, legally taking over from the British. At 8 o'clock, Sir Alan Cunningham, the last British governor, takes his leave. At just 30 years, the British Empire has had the shortest rule in history and leaves behind a land in crisis. In Jaffa, the Palestinian resistance is on its last legs. As the British leave, Jewish forces are pushing further and further into the city, mopping up as they go. Saeed and Hassan are running out of time. In Tel Aviv, Ben-Gurion prepares for the independence ceremony. The time and location have been kept secret for fear of an attack by the Egyptian Air Force. The wording has finally been agreed just half an hour ago. They are committed now, come what may. And Ben-Gurion is calm in the eye of the impending storm. Over 1,000 people had gathered outside the Tel Aviv Art Museum. The secret location didn't stay secret for long. It is 4 o'clock. The Jewish People's Council and 300 selected witnesses are ready.
Hatikva. Olod balevav penima nefesh Yehudi.
Just down the road in Jaffa, Saeed and Hassan have a choice to make. Stay and fight, or try and leave.
أنا مش ههرب ولا شيء. أنا عندي أهلي وعيلتي هنا مش ههرب. هربت منه وجيت لعندك.
David Ben-Gurion reads the 650 words of the Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel. In less than 20 minutes, 2,000 years of exile of the Jewish people will be brought to an end.
Be'eretz Israel kam ha'am ha'Yehudi.
He refers to the Bible, the Holocaust, and the UN resolution as steps along the road to this redemption. But as one chapter in the history of the Middle East closes, another opens. For 750,000 Palestinians, the exile is just beginning. Saeed says he has heard that there are spaces on the last British convoy out of town. They will even be allowed to take their weapons. It is their last hope. Hassan decides they will leave Jaffa and link up with the Arab Legion army wherever they can find it, then return to liberate the town. They take what mementos they can, as well as the keys to their family home, and the deeds to their business. Whatever happens after midnight, there will be a new authority when they return, and they will need to prove ownership. They expect to be back in a few days with the Liberation Army. It doesn't occur to them that they may never return. The climax of the declaration is Israel's commitment to peace with its Arab neighbors. For Golda Meir, this moment of independence is the realization of a dream she thought she would never see. But there is sorrow mixed with the joy.
I thought of my children fighting and their comrades dying at this moment. And I thought of the 6 million who perished, of all of those who should have been here, all those who will never see Israel.
Today is a precious moment of triumph, but she knows the real struggle is just beginning. The next few hours will be make or break for the new nation. And the key to its survival is 5,000 miles away. May the 14th draws to a close in the new nation of Israel, a nation in limbo. It still doesn't officially exist in the eyes of the world. The Arabs are coming. The Israelis wait. Only one question remains. And Truman's answer stuns the world. At 6:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, President Truman responds to Jewish pleas and signs his recognition of the State of Israel. Like the Declaration, it makes no reference to any borders. Truman recognizes an effectively boundless state. With America leading, the rest of the world follows, and Israel is a reality.
We expect the nations around the world will help us in our difficult task.
Elated by the news, Ben-Gurion makes a radio broadcast, appealing for the world's support.
At the time that I am speaking, Tel Aviv is being bombed by hostile planes.
In the background can be heard the bombs of the Egyptian Air Force as Israel comes under attack. King Abdullah makes good his promise and attempts to destroy the new nation. Yet the tide is about to turn. With recognition, the Israelis can buy the weapons they need, and the war of independence will ultimately be won. Later that day, Israelis occupy the last corners of Jaffa, including the home of Saeed and Hassan Ali Abi Lahud. 750,000 Palestinians will never return to their homes. And in the first few hours of independence, the pattern of the next 50 years is set. The Jewish state survives to this day. But Ben-Gurion's dream remains unfulfilled. Israel is still not at peace.